Hey guys, what's up? Stock Retail coming back to you. Had a couple thoughts I wanted to share today, so another shorter video. Um, Gosh, there's definitely no shortage of things going on, though. If I had time, I'd even probably do another kind of deep DD video because there's a lot going on that I'm seeing behind the scenes. But today is going to be a little simpler, and maybe we'll dive in on some deeper stuff soon. And so, just talking about this notion of, hey, when is the job done? When have we sort of a mission accomplished? We did it. We won. Because I've shared a couple tweets recently, and I noticed there was a little bit of misunderstanding. So I kind of want to talk about that, but also just want to share why I am probably more calm and relaxed than I have been in almost this entire AMC journey. And I want to explain why. Now, that's just my point of view. I'm not asking anyone to have to agree with that or be in the same mental place, but just want to share with you why it is that I'm there and give you a chance to process and think through, agree, disagree, that kind of stuff. First, I want to share just what the misunderstanding was. So I had some tweets where I said, hey, in fact, you guys following me here on YouTube also would remember I had some videos maybe 2 weeks ago or so kind of talking about AMC's cash flows and the timing of AMC's profits versus the timing of when financial reporting comes out. And so, for example, I'm going to show you a timeline here in a minute where we kind of talk through, in May, we'll be reporting Q1 results. Well, two-thirds of that was January and February that was significantly strike impacted. But in May, real time, while the financial reporting is looking back 4 months to January, in real time, we've got like A Quiet Place 2 and, Planet of the Apes and other big things going on, and our financials are far, far improved from where we were. And so just want to kind of talk through the differences. We're going to be living on multiple timelines here. I guess it's almost like the multiverse, like the Miles Morales or something, or Loki, I guess. We're going to be on multiple timelines at the same time. And I want to just talk through that and why it is I'm so relaxed. But so the misunderstanding was, I had those videos and I had some tweets about that too. Like, hey, we're basically only weeks away from being in a radically different place for AMC. And people kind of said, well, what's different? It's not like overnight we're just going to squeeze because of that or anything. And exactly, I wasn't saying, and as you know, like on my channel, I say no dates, no prices, right? I'm never saying a date for when a squeeze event could happen or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. But I am talking about the realities of the business and where we are, and just turning our sort of attention to reality, because the whole point of short and distort is to not let you see reality. That's what distortion is. It's a twisting so that you see a false picture of what's going on and get you focused on fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So why don't we just talk about that timeline? A little bit of the past, kind of recent history, and a little bit of the future. And this is a very incomplete timeline. There's a whole lot more going on than just what I'm showing you here. But these are just some quick thoughts I pulled together to share with you. So I've had the videos before. You can go back and find those where I talked about Adam and the team preparing for the strike. That's where I had kind of said, they were like a squirrel gathering nuts for the winter. Some people didn't like the dilution last fall. I had a point of view that it was actually wise that they were gathering the cash we needed to survive then thrive. Like there's that language he's used. Well, the survive part means you better have enough cash to get through the hard times. And I believe they did that. So that's what last fall was to me. Then we had the recent dilution, which I had made the video explaining that pure guesswork on my part. Adam has not said this out loud or anything, so I could certainly be wrong, but that had to do with the liquidity covenants, and those are tested every year at this time. And so just the timing lined up. It felt like dots connecting to me that maybe the strike had hit even deeper than planned for, and they needed just a little bit more cash to get over the top and make sure these liquidity covenants didn't kick in with a bunch of, let's call them penalties, tightening some things up. And so he's kept us safe. He's kept us out of sort of painful places. And the dilution, yet again, made sense to me. I've put Bitcoin halving on here. Some of you know I've started to talk a bit about Bitcoin here on YouTube and on Twitter. I'm going to address that a little bit in this video as well, because there are some little piranhas trying to bite at me about that, and that's fine. So I'll address that and why I'm talking about that. But I do believe that relates to AMC. I've had a thesis for quite some time that I call The Great Unwinding. You can find a whole playlist of videos, or you can certainly find my tweets on that. I believe that effectively Bitcoin and AMC are kind of winning together and defeating a lot of powerful forces. It's just my thesis. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. It doesn't have to be a big personal thing. And that's where there's some shorts who love to take shots at me, and we'll deal with that. Okay, so here, let's start talking now about what I'm getting at. And something I was explaining actually to my wife pretty recently, where I said, there's just a heaviness coming off my shoulders, a feeling of, oh my gosh, it's like if you know the sort of Greek legend of Sisyphus, like he had to push this boulder up a hill and he kind of never could do it. And it was like this eternal damnation or something. But for us, it's like we overcame. We actually got this thing to the top of the mountain, and now we get to enjoy the fun ride on the other side. Like, I don't know, if you go to Hawaii, you get to go up. If you kind of pay some money, they'll drive you up, and you can mountain bike all the way down from the mountain. And it's like it's the easy part. It's the fun part. Letting gravity do its work because now you've done all the work to get to the top of the mountain. And so I think that we're getting more to the fun part because so actually let's just go through this timeline. So in May, this is what I've said before. We'll report those Q1 earnings, but I want you to think about, even just visually, you can just see it. So if like January was over here, we'll be in May reporting backwards to January, February, and March results. And so you know that the shorts are going to troll you on that. We'll probably show a cash burn, we'll show a loss, but we all knew that was coming. Adam knew it was coming. The job was prepared for, the results were prepared for in advance of that, right? So that's where I keep saying the results of what this management team has been doing point me to trusting them. They continue to prepare for both good times and bad times. But that's the point, is I believe good times are coming, because think about at that time that we're reporting those Q1 earnings. Like I said, we've got Planet of the Apes, Quiet Place, and some other great movies out at that exact same time. We will be in a far, far better place than what we're reporting in the rearview mirror from those 4 and 3 months ago. And so that's where I'm starting to feel like I'm going to live in the current reality of what's actually currently happening, even if we're reporting backwards. And that's where I just, and frankly, I'm wired that way anyway. I'm a bit of a futurist. I sort of see forward. It's just how I've always been wired. And so I'm just trying to invite other people, if you so agree, to kind of have a forward view and not a backwards view of where we are, or even just a current view. So then think about, like, I'm telling you, sort of June, July, go look at the movies that are coming out. You can just kind of Google 2024 movies, and there's a couple good websites that are going to pop up for you. And you can see the release dates on all the movies. And so if you sort of look into June, we start rounding into kind of, you've had Memorial Day off of May. You get into sort of kind of hitting the summer blockbuster window. And then look at July and what's out there. We start having some really, really big movies. Like I think July is, I know, like Despicable Me 4, I think, and of course Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, and you've got a bunch of other stuff too. There's several other big movies. And so you start being at a place kind of in June, July, where the cash flows are actually positive. And that's why I'm saying it's kind of in some ways like job done. I am not saying that means immediate MOAS or anything like that. And heck, I'm not even saying we couldn't MOAS before that either. I have different points of view on, let's say, risk to the shorts that's been ongoing in the markets. And all that's going on. I don't particularly want to name all of what I'm thinking out loud. I keep some of my cards close to the vest. But the point is, from a business lens, if it's survive then thrive, we start moving into the thrive period of our journey. Just think of this journey that's had many chapters, and some of those chapters in a book are sort of the dark times for your protagonist. But when you get to the part where the protagonist starts winning, the book starts getting kind of fun, right? And so we're reaching that. July, August, we get reporting Q2 earnings. I still think we'll be cash flow positive, really kind of the whole back half of the year. And so just be turning your eyes into what's happening there, where those Q2 earnings are, we're strike impacted. Q2 is right now. We had some movies even, actually, believe it or not, that moved out of Q2 as well. But that will be hitting later in the year. So we're going to have great results the back half of the year. That's why Adam said that. That's why I've said that. That's why the IMAX CEO has said that. There's a consistent theme there, so that gives me a lot of confidence in what I'm saying. But you will kind of have that one more moment where we report those backwards earnings. But then, finally, when we get to November, And now we're in Q4, and go look again at what movies are out there. I've shown you in the past too. I had a slide in one of the videos that kind of showed you all the big movies. There's just a huge list of large movies in Q4. So we're really looking good. That's almost where we kind of get, it's like if the strike was pain up front, it starts being sort of victory on the back end because we have some big movies that got delayed, but now all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of them. And so look at Q4 sometime, all the movies in that quarter. I'll just name a couple, and it's not going to be anywhere near a complete list here, but you have like Joker, you have Mufasa. Oh man, suddenly oh, you got a Lord of the Rings cartoon that I'm super excited to see. There's just a bunch of really big movies in Q4. Like I said, go take a look sometime. So that's going to be really big. While we're reporting Q3 earnings that I think are probably profits, and so you're starting to have. Let's actually kind of show some timelines. If you think about like our recovery, from sort of May forward, what I'm saying is we're kind of in that recovery zone where we start to actually generate instead of burning cash. I'm not saying like necessarily May is cash positive, but somewhere in that sort of May to July period, depending on how some things go, um, and even like popcorn sales and some stuff like that, we're kind of at the point now where we're starting to be cash flow positive, generating cash and then even growing. Um, and then, like I've said, you just don't start seeing that getting reported until November. So, my point of view is right now, already here today in April, things are starting to feel a lot better because we're mere weeks away from what I believe is positive cash flow. Whether that's 4 weeks or 10 weeks, those are weeks to me. Like we're just in some kind of a zone where it starts to get real better, real better, real fast. That I don't know. Um, I'm a little bit tired today and speaking fast, and so my English is coming out kind of funny. But things start to get a lot better really quickly. And we're already there now, even though some of that doesn't get reported until this November. And so my point is, in terms of the actual operations, if I was Adam, I'd be sitting there going, okay, I can start to breathe. Things are feeling better. I've kind of crested the hill, and it's not as hard work from here on out. Like just imagine riding your bike up a hill or something, and it's a lot more fun on the downside. If we're riding downhill but our stock's going uphill, let's put it that way, I think it could be a lot of fun. And so just want to share with you why you're going to see my language start to shift more and more to just being very excited, very positive, and in many ways, what I'm showing you here, unless the market finally capitulates, and there are events, like I said, that could be making that happen sooner rather than later. I just can't promise that. But whenever it happens, the results of the business will be getting lived in kind of real time, even before that's reported out. And so I start to already feel better because I know that even if those results haven't been reported yet, we are actually there. The cash is flowing into the till, so to speak, daily, and we're at a place where we're generating cash. And so that's also why, I've been so confident to hold my shares. It's why I've been setting myself up with very long dated options because I'm giving myself time for those results to get reported. I am just really to the point where it's kind of like, all right, we did it. Now we move into the thrive part of things, which is why I think he's signaled back half of the year and 2025 and 2026 start to get even a lot better. Why I've been telling you that for a long time. So just think about, where we are in terms of hindsighting with financial reporting versus where we are with actual results, and then an eye to the future of when better results get reported. That's what I'm talking about when I say, hey, it's kind of like job done. We got there. We did it. And so I believe that you're starting to see some signaling from Adam and team on kind of, we did it. And I think they should. I think they should pat themselves on their own shoulder on the back and celebrate a little bit. Now, there's plenty of work to be done. There's plenty of DD to be done. I don't like it when people say the DD is done. Look, markets are constantly flexing and moving and shifting, and we're all going to stay on top of all this. So by no means am I saying just like, all right, nobody has to do anything anymore. We're all going to stay vigilant. We're all going to stay on top of this. The management team is certainly not going to quit. I'm sure they would like to run through the finish line, and I know they will. But I'm just saying mentally, start shifting to a place where you understand, like, we're going to be printing money for AMC. I laugh a little because I've talked about Bitcoin and why I love Bitcoin, which kind of transitions me a little bit. Just going to share a little. So first off, on just a I don't know, pretty plainly worded note, the things that I have said about Bitcoin in particular, really at its most simplest level, coming back to the things that banks and politicians around the world do to fiat currency, and the way that that's controlled, the things that it's used for, what that does to everyday people in the price of bread, the price of gas, the price of car insurance, the price of houses, and how that's driven by currency debasement. You can find some of my videos on that, or certainly just Google it. Um, and so I have developed a very strong point of view about Bitcoin after doing my own DD on it. And some people have wondered what's going on, why I've done that. Now that's been over a period of I don't know 9 months or so that's been happening. So it's not like this was overnight. You can go back and see through my tweets and videos starting to share that. And so it's interesting though to watch, and I'm smiling. I wish sometimes I think I got to start showing you my face someday. It'll happen someday, perhaps after we win. Um, but I'm smiling here because it's been interesting to watch sort of a network start to uh, come after me in ways that people came after me in 2021 and 2022, in particular with AMC. I still get attacked on AMC, but I think over time I've just carved out my own lane where I've blocked enough people and set enough people in their place that I don't get attacked quite as much on AMC, though there's still plenty, and a lot of it is more subtle now too. Um, but interesting to see some people, I start speaking up on Bitcoin and then people now attack me on that too. So that's been just really interesting um, and enlightening, I think, or illuminating maybe is the word. It shows me where some people stand. And maybe I'll talk more about that in the future. But so wanted to share just a fun story, uh, a memory of mine, because there was another thing that I was trying to do recently was just share with you guys a little more kind of who I am. I realize a lot of times I'm just very serious and I share numbers, I share DD, but there's a person behind the screen. And so one of my favorite things growing up was my grandparents had this cabin on a river, the American River, and it was nothing fancy. They weren't wealthy. They just happened to have gotten a place when my dad was a kid, and so it just sort of stayed in the family. And it was this little place built in 1927. There was no phone. There was no TV. You just would go there and play on the river all day. Just amazing. And so that kind of formed me a bit as a kid. I'd get to go there, maybe just a couple days here and there, once a year or something like that. And I would just hop on rocks all day and jump in the river. And man, I loved it. It's kind of in Northern California, if you don't know what I'm talking about. And one of the fun things I would do is I'd sit on this one rock. There was this flat rock, and you could kind of sit, and then there was water over sort of the rock had made a bench underwater. And so it was, I don't know, 6 inches deep. It'd kind of go up to your shins or something, maybe a foot deep. And these little baby fish would kind of come up and just nibble at your shins. And it was kind of it was maybe freaky at first if it was new to you, but then over time you realize, oh, it's kind of just ticklish and it's funny to watch, and all these little baby fish gather if you'll sit still. And I'll just tell you, the reason that popped in my head today, first of all, because it's just a fun memory, and I love that place. It's one of my favorite places of all time. Well, in a way, a lot of these trolls that are coming at me, I just don't think they realize it just doesn't bother me anymore. I'm over 3 years into this. I've just been nonstop attacked for AMC and now Bitcoin. And it's so just message to the trolls. You guys think you're taking these big bites out of me or whatever. Honestly, you're like these tiny little fish that are just thinking they're nibbling at me and getting nothing and just kind of tickling. And if anything, that's exfoliating for your skin and it's fine. So it doesn't bother me. It doesn't faze me. I wouldn't even say I'm numb to it. I would say I'm just above it at this point. You're not going to get me. Go ahead and try. Frankly, most of the time I see through you and I actually know who some of you are. There's just tells. You can tell when someone's made a new alt account and it's really the same person attacking you for the 7th time and they're trying to set up a narrative and all of that. So I'll just say to the apes too, I'll let you guys decide, but you've seen my track record on AMC. I've shared with you my heart on why now I'm telling my own kids to put money, put their long-term savings in Bitcoin. There's only two assets in my portfolio right now, or two, if you want to call them securities assets. They don't quite mean the same thing, so it's not. We shouldn't always use them interchangeably. But I really only own AMC and Bitcoin. That's it, unless you want to count the equity in my house. Um, that's not for everybody. Before before this journey, I had like, oh gosh, 30 to 40 tickers in my portfolio, depending on what day you would have asked me. And I did a lot of DD and research back then, and I had my own portfolio. And so perhaps after we win, I can share lots of research and data, and we'll continue on a journey together. But just wanted to share that little bit of personal insight into, don't worry about me. People are going to attack me. I'll get comments here that often I hide because they also like to sway sentiment. So that's what they do. They'll get on my posts, try to spread negativity, spread anger and fear and chaos and confusion. And I've talked enough about that in the past. So just wanted to share that with you. And frankly, a little bit of a shot at you, Shorty. You know, gather all the little trolls and little fish you want and take nibbles at me. It's not going to work because we will win. Let's go.